Okay, please take these notes on whatever the next available page is in your notebook. We're going to talk some more about exponential functions. We talked about these before we left. We were looking at the graphs of them. Today we're going to do some word problems. In order to do the word problems, we have to make sure from the word problem we can find the a and the b value. Now the a value is our starting value. And typically in word problems, this is pretty much a given. So that's nice. The harder part is that the b value is not usually given to you. You do have to do some work to find it. So that's what we're going to work on first before we get to the word problems, is how are we actually going to get that b value. This comes from the percent. And so what's going to happen in a problem is they're going to give you a percent. We have to change that to a decimal. And then we have to change that decimal into the b value. And that's why this is a little bit more work, because we are actually having to go through a bunch of steps to get the b value. So let's start with a 4% gain. So this would be like, for example, John has a rare jewel and it's gaining 4% value per year. Okay, so that's what we'd be looking at here. So we're going to start with our percent. So we've got 4%. We're going to change that to a decimal. Now, the way we change percents to decimals is this is where the decimal currently is. We always move it 2 to the left. And what happens is when we move it 2 to the left, we have a blank spot there. We fill it with a 0. And so our decimal is 0.04. Okay, that's still not the b value. We have to find the b value. Now the reason that's not the b value is, for example, if you had $100, you were putting it in a bank account and it was going to gain 4% value. The next month you would expect, I'm going to have more than $100 because I was gaining money. The problem is if you used 0.04 as your b value, what would happen is you would put your $100 in, and then the next month you'd look at your bank account and you would have $4. Now that would be really upsetting. You were supposed to gain money. You went from 100 to 4. That would be very upsetting. So what we actually have to happen is we still need to keep 100% all of the value we had, but we are also gaining 4%. So what we do for our b value, and this is going to be an important little note up here. We're going to put 2 pieces of information in it. So make it a nice little box there that says, hey, look at me. If we are increasing in value, what we're going to do is we are going to take 1 and we are going to add the decimal. The reason we add the decimal to 1, the 1 is representing 100%. I am keeping 100% of the money I have, and I am gaining, so that's why we're doing a plus, 0.04. And that gives me 1.04. Okay, that's going to be our b value. And that's why we have to do a little bit of work. The problem will say 4%, and we are putting 1.04 into our equation. Okay, let's try one more. Let's do a 17% appreciation. Appreciation is another word for gaining value. Okay, like classic cars appreciate, collections usually appreciate. It means they're being worth more as we move along. Okay, so we're starting out with our 17%. And we take our decimal and we move it 2 to the left, and this time we don't have a blank spot, so we're not adding in a 0. So this becomes 0.17. And then we are going to say, all right, I still get 100%, but I am adding 0.17, so my b value is 1.17. That's what we would put into our equation. All right, now we're going to look at another one. This time it's going to be a 3% loss. Okay, I am losing value. So we do it in the same way. We are still going to take our percent, so 3%, and we're going to change it into a decimal in the exact same way. So we take our decimal, we move it 2 over. We have to fill in with a 0. So 3% as a decimal is 0.03. Now in the previous problem, we would do 1 plus. This time it's a loss though, so we're saying, all right, I had 100% of the value, but I am losing, so now I'm subtracting that amount. So 1 minus 0.03, we get 0.97. Okay, so let me go back here to where I said we're going to write our little notes. Okay, a loss is 1 minus the decimal. So that's really important. And it makes sense as long as you can remember that you have to do this. The 1 part is there both times because you're always starting with 100% what you have. But you're adding if it's an appreciation or a gain, and you're minusing if it's a loss or a depreciation. Okay, so this is our B value. All right, and let's do a 22% decrease. Okay, we take 22%. We are going to change it into a decimal, move over 1, 2, no 0 to fill in. So that becomes 0.22. This is a decrease, so we are losing, so 1 minus 0.22, we get 0.78. So 0.78 would become our B value. All right, so we have a word problem here. Joe has a classic car worth $15,000 that is appreciating 7% per year. Write an equation to represent its value. How much will it be worth in 10 years? This is 2 questions, really. We need to find our A and our B value. So we'll start with A. Remember I had mentioned before, A is usually pretty easy. They're going to give you that amount. So $15,000. We also need to find, oh, let's write that down first. Oops. So $15,000. I don't have my B yet, so we'll fill that in a minute. All right, so we've got that part. Now we do need to find that B value. And so what we are looking for is that changing. So how is it changing? It is appreciating 7%. All right, so we've got to go through our process then. We have a percent. I'm going to change it to a decimal. I'm going to fill in my 0. So I have 0.07 as my decimal. Since it was gaining, it said appreciating, I am taking 100% and I am adding value. And so I get 1.07. That is my B value. Okay, so I have answered part of my question here. The first question that was asked was, write an equation to represent its value, and that's what I have done right here. So I've answered part of it. The second question it asks is, how much then is it going to be worth in 10 years? Okay, so let's answer that question down here. I'm going to use the equation that I have. That's the equation that I just found. And all I'm doing is, now that I have the equation, I'm saying, okay, how much is this going to be worth when X is 10 years from now? Now, there's 2 things to do here. One is, this is an okay place to leave it if you don't have a calculator. Okay, you're showing me that you know where to plug it in. After this, it's just a matter of, do you know how to plug it in a calculator? If you don't have one, we can work on that when we get back to school. But you actually do have quite a few options. You can use the internet to find a calculator that can do this. Also, your phone calculator, if you turn it sideways, does have more options and you can do this. But either way, I'm going to type this into my calculator, 15,000, 1.07 to the power of 10. And I get $29,507.27. Okay, so on the worksheet today, if you can't quite do that last step, that's okay. Okay, let's do one more. Sam bought a new car for $52,000 that loses 7% value each year. Write an equation to represent the value. How much is it worth in 5 years? Okay, so first let's go ahead and get that A value, $52,000. Okay, that is its current value. I have my B value to the X. Now to get my B value, I need to know what's happening in this problem. Let's see, we're losing 7%. Okay, so we're going to take our 7%, we're going to change it into a decimal. So taking my decimal, moving it over 2, and I get 0.07. Now I'm losing value, so I have 100% of my value. I'm losing 0.07. That gives me 0.93. And that you can also use a calculator for if you need to. Okay, so I've answered the first question here. Write an equation to represent the value. And my second part of the question is, how much is it going to be worth in 5 years? So I'm going to take the equation that I have, 0.93 to 5 years. Again, if you need to, leave it there. But if possible, it'd be great to know if you know how to type this in. The only way to do it is to try and see if it matches my answer. So $36,175.80 rounded. And there we go. On your worksheet, you'll be practicing finding some b-values and then also 2 equations like these. Please do let me know if you have any questions. We can always answer them by email, or we can set up a chat together and I can go through problems with you. You just send me an email and let me know.